Welcome. Hi, Liz. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Aiden?
I'm doing good. I'm really, really excited to be having this meditation for everyone to access and to dive into a little bit of their own journey, especially in
Sure.
everything that's been going on lately. I think it's really important to come back to center. And if you're drawn to being here in this meditation, we're so happy that you came. And we're really thrilled to be able to go through it together. We did do this live once before on our Point of Pride Instagram, and it went really well. And I really enjoyed it. I know that Liz enjoyed it too, and everyone who joined. So that was really fun. And I feel like meditation for me has been like a really good way to kind of come back to center, to relieve myself of some anxiety and stress. And sometimes that's from external things that, are happening to me. And sometimes that's from internal things, my own thoughts, my own self talk, and stuff like that. So it's been a really beautiful way for me personally, to really come back to myself. And it's been a journey. So if this is like your first meditation ever, just relax into it. Have no expectation except for just being able to even just sit still for 10 minutes. I mean, that was kind of like my first thing, was just learning to sit still. And over time, I've been able to really like tap in and be able to use meditation in a daily practice. So if you're a first timer, no stress, no expectations. I'd be really curious, Liz, like how has meditation been in your life?
I got into meditation from a theater background, and one of the things I think I've had a different relationship to meditation than you. For one, I had this expectation where I was supposed to be able to like sit and focus, and by doing it, I would be able to clear my head and clear all of these like thoughts that were bouncing around. And I think one of the biggest things for me was releasing myself from judgment around when my thoughts started to wander and recognize that that's not the goal of the practice necessarily. It's an intrinsic part. It's like, if you want to be a runner, you have to get out and run. And there's sort of no way to get better other than to do it. I like what Brene Brown calls the FFT, the effing first time, and just recognizing that like sometimes the discomfort is just going to be an integral part of the process, and you have to sit with that, and it's okay. Like there's not a wrong way to do it. There's just building that practice. And for me, what's been really valuable that I really got to appreciate in doing theater was the way that it just allowed me to be really present to what I was doing, to recognize a lot of the things that were going on that weren't going to stop going on, but that I needed to be able to set aside to do the work that I needed to do in that moment. And actually, there are little tiny elements of this guided meditation that harken back to that theater teacher who taught me this idea of like being able to recognize that there are so many things and so many stressors in our life, but sometimes there are just also these tasks that we need to get done, and we need to be able to just like breathe and acknowledge those things and then set them aside and roll up our sleeves and get to work, and then know that those feelings are there for us to come back to. I think it's allowed me to be a little bit more focused and present as I'm doing things throughout my day, as opposed to, often what I'll do is I'll have like 15 things going on, and I'll be texting a person while editing a document and reading a reference book. And it definitely feels like I can be more engaged with whatever it is I'm doing when I give myself the space to set all that other stuff aside. And it just winds up creating a better experience for all of the different things, to tackle it one by one by one, rather than 15 things at once, and then my brain is just pinging everywhere all day. I think that's kind of similar to your talk about being centered from a much, maybe not much different, but at least slightly different perspective.
Yeah, no, and I think it's like really important. I hear a lot of people talk about like, oh, meditating and having all these different thoughts come in, which is kind of what you said. Like when you hear those thoughts come in, like just trying to release those thoughts. And I think people get a little confused because the actual, like what meditation actually is that exact process. So people think that meditating is being in this like state of no thought, like now I'm in meditation. But that's actually not what meditation, like the actual word meditation is. Like the word meditation is that actual practice of having a thought come into your mind and then being able to release the attachment of that thought and push that thought away so that you can come back to kind of this like no thought process. So I think it's important to remember that if you're meditating for 10 minutes, and the whole time you're just pushing these thoughts out, then you are actually meditating. And I feel like,
Yeah.
it's important to state that for people, because that's what a majority of my meditation looks like, is just like constantly pushing thought away. But if that's what you're doing it right.
I feel like it's also important to note, as you say that, like there's not a judgment on the thoughts that are coming in. It's not saying like, oh, this is a bad thought, it's an anxious thought, it's a like mind racing thought. It's just saying like this is a thought, and how I relate to this thought in this moment is giving me the ability to, throughout the rest of my day, control where my attention is going so that I can be putting my attention, my finite resource of attention, into things that serve and support me, as opposed to things that are just going to keep distracting me and pulling my attention in numerous different directions. Because I think a lot of it for me also just all comes back to intentionality and being able to go about my day with that intention.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So Liz is going to lead the meditation. Getting comfortable is always the number one thing. You don't have to sit with your legs crossed in like an position. Because honestly, if this is one of your first times meditating, your back is going to hurt. Sitting in that like erect position with your back, you are going to get some fiery feelings in your back. So I always suggest, honestly, if it's your first time meditating, just sitting comfortably in a chair is a really great way to start. If you can put your feet flat on the ground, that's great too. You can also literally lay down. You could lay down in this moment and just close your eyes, take some deep breaths. You don't have to be watching us. I highly suggest closing your eyes. Or you can also light a candle, and you can look directly into the candle and just have that be your main point of focus. For myself, because I meditate often, I don't like having my legs crossed. That hurts my back. So like I have a nice pillow back here on my chair. I'm going to be like leaning back. I'm going to have my feet on the ground. I'm going to have my hands on top of my knees here, kind of in an upright position, just to represent being open and being receiving. But again, I think it's more about just finding a comfortable spot, whatever that is. There's no right way to be seated. I think if there's one suggestion, because there's some breathing in the meditation, is just make sure that you're not in like the like fetal position, like all closed off, because you won't be able to really breathe deeply. So just make sure that whatever position you're in is comfortable and you feel like you can breathe. Also, one super side note, if you get an itch, okay, like if you are in the middle of meditation and you have an itch on your nose, I highly suggest itching your nose, even if you're in the middle of the meditation. Because what happens is you get an itch on your nose and you can't focus because you're just like, oh my gosh, my nose is itching so much. My nose itches so much. It's it's easier and quicker to just itch your nose, get the itch out of the way, and get back into it. So that would be my last note there, and I'm gonna let Liz kind of take it over from here.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get started. Sit or lie comfortably. Eyes closed or open. Take a deep breath. Hold and slowly release. I like to hold my palms up because it can help boost my mood and increase my feelings of connectedness. Imagine that you are sitting in front of a mirror. In this mirror is your most authentic self. You notice that the mirror is covered in gems of all colors, shapes, and sizes. You realize that you can reach out and remove the gem from the mirror. As you hold it in your hand, you notice that it is a worry, or a concern, or an anxiety that's been floating through your mind. Maybe it's dysphoria. Maybe it's an economic concern. Maybe it's a health concern. Hold that feeling in your hand. Recognize that your feeling is valid. It's understandable. Think for a moment as you hold it about the many other people in this world who are holding concerns similar to you. And then set that feeling aside. Maybe you put it into a bowl that's next to you or in front of you. Maybe it's just a pile. You're just setting that feeling aside. It'll be there when you're done, but for now, we're just focusing on centering ourselves, grounding ourselves. Keep a gentle rhythm of breathing. In and out, in and out. Repeat this process until you have collected all the gems from the mirror. Your pile might be small or large or somewhere in the middle. Whatever size that pile is, that's okay. All of those feelings are real and important and valid. Now we're going to shift focus to our reflection, looking at our most authentic self. You may be on hormones. You may not be. Maybe you don't want hormones. You may have had surgery. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you don't want surgery. That's all okay. Your identity is real. Your gender expression is real. You are whole and complete right now in this moment. You are loved. You are part of a vibrant community all over the world. You are part of a rich history of overcoming adversity. Take a deep breath. Imagine all the people in the world taking a breath with you. All the people you're connected to in this meditation, all over the world. All your trans siblings who love and support and affirm you. As you breathe in and out, focus on where you feel tension in your body. Gently scan up and down your body. And if you notice something that feels tight on your in-breath, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Then breathe out and release all that tension. If you notice dysphoria coming up, that's okay. Notice this manifestation of dysphoria as a gem in the mirror. You can reach out, remove it, put it to the side with the rest of the gems. Or if there are other worries or feelings come up, that's okay too. Add those gems to the pile. Once you've put it aside, bring your attention back to your breathing. Remember that we see you. We are here for you. You are whole and complete, and we love and honor your most authentic self. Now we're going to do a slightly different breathing practice that has been shown to help protect our bodies against stress, anxiety, inflammation, and pain. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4 and then out for a count of 8. And if you can't do 4 and 8, do 3 and 6 or 2 and 4. If you can do longer, that's great. So together, we're going to do in, two, three, four, and out, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, or whatever number you can do. In and then slowly out. And we're going to do this 5 times. As you're comfortable, maybe you want to end on an affirmation. Remind yourself that you are enough. If that doesn't feel good to you, maybe it's a simple thank you. It can be hard to feel grateful sometimes, but sometimes finding one tiny thing to be grateful for can help things feel more manageable. For me, I find that practicing being grateful really does help make other things feel more manageable. So thank you all for being here, joining us. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for being you. What'd you think?
That's great. I love that. Oh,
Nice.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially personally, it's my second meditation of the day, so I feel like, nice, nice.
nice. It's my
Yeah.
first, and it's funny because I struggle with forgetting how helpful it can be for me, and I thought it was really
Mm,
amusing that afterwards we were both like, all right, like wiggling, like realizing where some of the tension has relaxed and feeling a little more loose, and that was an awesome feeling, especially since my allergies have been really acting up, and there's some correlation between like how hard it is to breathe because of allergies and carrying all this extra tension in my body. So
mm,
just going through this just awareness of the way that I'm feeling in my body and how it impacts my mood has been really
mm,
huge, because I do find that like, all right, when I can relax and let go like that, it makes such a difference in my day. I feel like that was my grab bag of like all of my favorite meditation practices all rolled into one. I think it's worth noting that depending on the time you have throughout the day, you can really like segment that out and make, these are sort of three separate practices all rolled into one 10-minute thing. But if there's something that feels more helpful for you or feels more beneficial, you can take that segment out and extend it. Or if there was something that didn't really work for you, you can shorten it. I know for me, I like doing that breathing practice a couple times a day, even just that 5-minute cycle. I love doing it if I'm going into, say, a meeting that I'm stressed about. That is a minute or less, great for getting me focused. I like doing the gem one right before bed if I'm having like a lot of anxiety, because it's a good reminder like you're about to go to bed. You can't do anything in this exact moment about those things. Maybe if there is something that you can do something about, get up and do it and then try going to sleep again. But I really like the idea of just signaling to myself there's a lot to be anxious about a lot of the time. And, it's all going to be there for you in the morning. But for now, the best way to get yourself set up for success to deal with the things that make you anxious is to get a really good night's sleep. And that means for me, putting all of that aside. So yeah, hopefully people who are watching this are finding it helpful and are finding ways to make a practice that's their own, that empowers them to do what they want to be doing, and directing their attention where they want to direct it.
right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I loved all of that. And I feel like also it's like, it's only 5 minutes. It's only 10 minutes,
Yeah.
meditation. Granted, this whole program we put together here is longer, but when you get into a practice, it's really, you realize just like that 10 minutes really isn't that long. You spend more time like scrolling on Instagram aimlessly,
Yeah.
than to just try to have a moment of just like calm, just like a moment of not looking at things, of just really diving into yourself.
Working out and meditation for me are the two investments of time that pay
Mm,
dividends every single day, right? Like when you can get in touch with your body that way and even just do like a 20-minute workout, the way that you feel, I get like 40 minutes back every time I work out. So for
mm.
me, the time is paid double because my brain functions better, I'm more focused. I feel like meditation is the same.
Yeah, I mean, I've really equated movement, like physical body movement, is somewhat of a meditation for your body, whatever it is, right? Everyone has different ways of wanting to move their bodies. And I personally find myself wanting to do different ways of moving my body. Like sometimes I want to go for a run, sometimes I want to do yoga, sometimes I want to dance, sometimes I want to chase my son around, you know what I mean? But every time I can get into some type of movement, it feels really good because our bodies are kind of like made to move and our minds are kind of made to sit. Yeah, this was really great and I really appreciated you leading it, Liz.
Oh,
I
thanks
feel
for
great.
joining.
So
Awesome.
yeah, I love it.
And I think our last sort of call for engagement is to just, if people like this, if they have thoughts, if they want to see different styles of meditation, we ultimately want to be a community resource for everyone in the trans and gender expensive community. And I think that, looking after our physical and mental well-being is a huge part of it. So any further resources that we at Point of Pride can offer to the community feels really important and really like, what we're called to do, especially when so many of the resources that are out there aren't specific to our community or don't recognize the ways in which our community, this like vast, diverse range of identities, how we relate to things, and anything that affirms that or recognizes that feels really significant and powerful, at least to me. So, yeah, anything that we can do to support the community in that way, let us know.
Yeah, please do. Second everything you just said, Liz. And
Awesome.
yeah, we just want to be of service. So thanks everyone for joining. We really hope you had a good time and you're welcome to do this meditation as many times, as much, whenever you want to. So
Awesome.
thanks.
Thank you.